In 1968, a Soviet nuclear submarine vanished in the Pacific Ocean. 6 years later, the CIA spent more than $500 million to steal it back from the bottom of the sea. This is the story of Project Azorian, the most expensive, most secret, and most insane covert operation of the Cold War. On the morning of March 8, 1968, the Soviet submarine K-129 was on patrol in the North Pacific, roughly 1,500 nautical miles northwest of Hawaii. She carried a crew of 98 men, 3 nuclear ballistic missiles, and a pair of nuclear-tipped torpedoes. And then, without warning, she was gone. The Soviet Navy launched the largest search operation in its history. Dozens of ships combed thousands of square miles of open ocean. They found nothing. Not a wreck, not a body, not a single clue. After 2 months, Moscow gave up. But the Americans had been listening. Hidden across the floor of the Pacific was a top-secret network of hydrophones called SOSUS, the Sound Surveillance System. Built to track Soviet subs, it had recorded the exact moment K-129 imploded. Using triangulation, U.S. Navy analysts pinpointed the wreck to within a few miles. Then, a specially modified spy submarine, the USS Halibut, was sent to photograph the site. What it found was extraordinary. K-129 was sitting almost upright on the seafloor, 3 miles down. Her hull was cracked, but the forward section, including the missile tubes in the code room, appeared intact. For the CIA, this was the intelligence opportunity of a lifetime. Inside that wreck were Soviet nuclear warheads, cryptographic machines, and code books that could unlock years of intercepted Russian communications. There was just one problem. No one had ever lifted anything that heavy from that deep. Ever. The depth was 16,500 feet. The target weighed nearly 2,000 tons. And whatever they built to grab it had to do so without the Soviets noticing. The CIA's solution was breathtaking in its ambition. They would build a giant mechanical claw, lower it 3 miles down on a string of steel pipes, grip the broken submarine, and lift the entire forward section back up to the surface, all while pretending to mine the seafloor for manganese. To pull it off, they needed a ship that didn't exist, so they built one. Enter Howard Hughes, the eccentric billionaire whose name was perfect cover for an outlandish deep-sea mining venture no one would question. In 1971, construction began on the Hughes Glomar Explorer. She was 619 feet long, displaced 50,000 tons, and her center contained a vast moon pool, a giant flooded chamber where the recovered submarine could be hidden from satellites and prying eyes. Beneath her was the claw itself, codenamed Clementine. 8 massive steel fingers, each strong enough to crush a tank, designed to cradle a submarine in absolute darkness 3 miles below. In the summer of 1974, the Glomar Explorer sailed for the recovery site. For weeks she sat alone in the open ocean, her crew lowering Clementine through the abyss, one section of pipe at a time. It took the claw days just to reach the bottom. Soviet ships circled nearby, suspicious but never sure. One came so close her crew could see the deck of the Glomar through binoculars. But the cover story held. They were just mining after all. When Clementine finally closed around K-129, the operation began. Slowly, agonizingly, the claw began to rise. And then, disaster. Several of Clementine's steel fingers snapped under the strain. 2/3 of the submarine broke free and fell back into the abyss, carrying with it the missile tubes, the warheads, and the precious code room. Only a smaller forward section made it to the surface. What exactly the CIA recovered remains classified to this day. Officially, they found the bodies of 6 Soviet sailors, who were later buried at sea with full military honors, a ceremony recorded on film and decades later given to Russia as a quiet gesture of respect. Unofficially, Rumors persist of recovered nuclear torpedoes, fragments of code books, and intelligence so sensitive that the full story may never be told. In 1975, the operation leaked to the press. When journalists asked the CIA to confirm or deny it, the agency invented a now famous response. We can neither confirm nor deny the existence of the materials requested. It became known as the Glomar Response, and it is still used by intelligence agencies around the world today. Project Azorian cost roughly $800 million, around $5 billion in today's money. It is, by some measures, the most expensive intelligence operation ever conducted, and it was kept fully secret for nearly 40 years. The Hughes Glomar Explorer was eventually scrapped in 2015. Clementine, the claw that almost stole a Soviet submarine, was quietly dismantled and lost to history. But somewhere on the floor of the Pacific Ocean, the rest of K-109 still lies in the dark, along with whatever secrets the CIA never managed to bring home. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more declassified operations the world was never supposed to know about.